Spurgeon by Shai Linne. Let me make this plain, kids. God is the greatest. He never changes. His ways are blameless. For his own glory and at different stages, he raises up servants to make his name famous. A highlight one particular servant for the purpose of encouraging the worship of the Lord. Furthermore, Charles Haddon Spurgeon was born on the outskirts of London in 1834. His dad and his grandpa were both in the ministry. Mother had been praying for his soul since his infancy. Naturally intelligent, rapidly developing, but lacking Jesus' fellowship that would be irrelevant. The God of his mother unknown, but Christ was up in his home, but it just wasn't his own. The Lord answered prayer when at the age of 10, he tried to commit to the wages of sin. Through the next 5 years, spirit brought conviction, tears and affliction. Aware of his condition, one Sunday morning from the stormy snow, he tried to go into the church where he normally go. Randomly stepped into a church. Heard the words, "Leave to me and be saved, all the ends of the earth." And though only heaven knows the name of the preacher, blessed that Spurgeon became a believer. The Lord is so merciful, always so purposeful. Those whom he draws by his call irreversible. Obediently, after Spurgeon's conversion, obediently, he was earnest to serve him. The Lord poured the Spirit in Spurgeon abundantly. Anyone could see that he spoke with profundity. Extraordinary gift in the sea, proclaiming God's glory at the age of 15 in a place called Waterbeach, graced by the kind of speech that even made the old folks say, "This boy can preach." In fact, he was so crafty that after the master about the church snatched him and asked him to pastor. At the time, he was 17 years old, on fire for the King who redeemed his soul. People followed him everywhere. It was quite a scene. Called through the Church of London at the age of 19, he was more than ready. He was Lord, he was dedicated, even though he was never formally educated. If he were distracted, he would bleed Bible. Work's prayer life was a means of survival. The amount that he read was truly mind-blowing, stepping into the writings of dudes like John Owen. And by God's grace, he fed the sheep new manna. In London met his wife, her name was Suzanne. Behold the grace of God, staying to the side, his spirit exalting the Lamb who had died. It can't be denied, this manly described is simply a tool in the hand of his God. Scripture Spurgeon, completely instructive. One word about Spurgeon is he was productive with Jesus the speakers. Loudly he shouted. Each week by thousands with crowds in the thousands. His sermons were published, 62 volumes. He worked almost like he just knew he would die soon. Made mad disciples, passed on his knowledge, established a school to train pastors and college. Sold out to the Lord Jehovah his portion, also remained 2 homes for the orphans. A monthly magazine, plus he wasn't too busy to write books, about 150, and by God's grace in Spurgeon was manifest. But remember, the best man is the man that gets. Yes, he struggled with depression, consistently sick, capable of Susanna, physically afflicted. He experienced as a servant of Jesus the power of God made perfect in weakness. Later comes complications. He stand for orthodox. He gets shunned by his denomination. But through all the hardship and all the controversy, he never stopped relying on the sovereign God of mercy. And when he finished pressing towards the goal, he entered into heaven at the age of 57. His life is a case of God's grace effectively, and we're considered to leave a great legacy. The proof is many years later in your speakers, we're praising Jesus for raising up the Prince of Preachers.